Hi everyone. As a team of four, myself Sankeerthana, Alessandra, Kenneth, and Tanishq will be presenting the critical approaches of design assessment 1. Before that, we would like to acknowledge the Bidigal and Gadigal people of the nation as the traditional custodians of the country. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. Moving on to the presentation, as a team, we chose the Lardil community, which is located in the Mornington Island. It is an isolated community located in the Gulf of Carpentria, and this island is the largest of the 22 islands that form the Wellesley Island group. And due to its flat geography and position of the island, the seasonal monsoon activity within, it is highly prone to cyclones, which have a profound impact in the community and their ways of life. And the main township that is Gunona. It's a Lardil language name for the Mornington Island. It houses nearly 1,200 residents, predominantly indigenous Lardil people, and they form the largest tribal group in the North Wellesley Islands. They have a very deep connection to the land, and it reflects in their cultural practices and resilience. Coming to the historical and cultural context of the community, back in 1914, a Presbyterian mission with a school was set up in this island, and even though it's been a very long time, some of the buildings are still found in place. And in 1978, with the support of the Commonwealth government, the community reached an agreement for self-government, and these services they provided employment to a number of residents in the island. And Mornington Island, like many other indigenous communities, they face like significant changes because of European colonization, and this resilience is evident in their continued practice of traditional customs and intergenerational transfer of knowledge. One notable aspect is their survival strategies for living in this cyclone prone area. And these strategies they have been passed down through generations, and they are deeply rooted in the community and their way of living. The community's ability to adapt to the harsh climatic conditions, they play a huge role in how this community functions and their survival strategies. Moving on to the cultural expression, that is, the cultural identity of this island is expressed through various mediums, that is, dance, music, and art forms. The Mornington Island dancers they play a significant role in their cultural expression. That is, their performances are not just artistic displays, but also they narrate the stories of their community, their origin of land, cultural resilience, and their survival through it through their dance moves. And these dances they symbolize their connection to the land and their ability to cope with the natural hazards. It is supported by the Mindian Gunana Aboriginal Corporation, and these performances they keep the community's heritage alive. The other form of expression is through art, and art is another powerful medium through which the Lardil community they express their connection to the land and the culture. And the Mornington Island Art Studio it serves as a vibrant community hub for creativity and cultural preservation. And the artists from the community they all come together, they gather to share their stories and maintain their cultural heritage, which ranges from paintings to music and storytelling, and they all have a profound connection to their country. And this studio is not just a place for creation, but also for forming memories and the cultural narratives. Cyclones in Mornington Island. This is a frequently recurrent. Uh, Cyclones are frequently recurrent there, and they're regarded as a part of their natural cycle and the Mornington Islands lifestyle. And over a period of long period of time, the indigenous inhabitants of the area they've developed a effective method of survival. And in a year, at least once, a cyclone has been expected. So they are have their own solutions of approaching the scenario and survival strategies for it. And the historical cyclones have been Cyclone Ted and Cyclone Abigail. Cyclone Ted was in 1976, Category 4, and this caused extensive damage to the community. And as a result of this, the government took up a large scale housing project where the cyclone resistant houses were erected. And Abigail was Category 2, and it was a minimal damage that disrupted power and water in the place. Coming to the community's cultural knowledge systems, that is, the Ladal community, they hone their environmental awareness through generations of careful observations and experiences, and the nature's warnings were observed by the community, and they saw that as a way of identifying when the cyclone is about to happen. And some of them were observing the sighting of maneuver birds flying over, which indicates. And another indication was how the sea gets really rough, and they call it as churned up, and that was seen as an indication. And other, when they go for swimming, the unusually warm seawater, or when they go for fishing, they observe that. And swarms of flying ants attracted to the lights during that period of time is also seen as an indication. And coming to other challenges faced and the government support, despite their resilience, the community faced significant challenges, particularly during and after the cyclone. Isolation due to the road and communication disruptions create further vulnerable scenario of the community. And enhancing these systems with traditional knowledge system can improve the effectiveness. That is, coexisting the government's methods of approaching the natural disaster and bridging the gap between the modern emergency management and the traditional methods can go a long way in addressing this.
System thinking is a term adopted by Western disciplines of social and system change theory since 1987. It is a holistic approach that analyzes various parts of a system, such as the natural environment, human relationships, non human relationships, and how they interact and affect each other over time. This picture showcases how Lardil people fish and an example of systems thinking in practice. It shows an adult teaching younger generation to fish with traditional gear, emphasizing sustainability by catching only what is needed. This approach highlights how one action can influence many and the importance of maintaining a balance and respect to the ecosystem. In system thinking, there is also a concept of relationality, which emphasizes the interconnectedness and dynamic nature of all relationships, recognizing the impact of actions across time, including past, present, and future generations. Relationships are central and constantly evolving and vital to the understanding of the whole system. Our research revealed that Mornington Island faces annual cyclones due to its locations. To prepare and respond effectively, we decided to use the UNHCR Emergency Handbook as a framework. The first step in the building blocks of emergency preparedness is conducting an emergency risk analysis for potential new or escalating emergencies. It is essential to establish a ranking system, high, medium, or low, for each emergency scenario based on the likelihood and potential impact. Operations must monitor and review these risks. If a risk is classified as high, a contingency plan with specific preparedness actions should be implemented. Additionally, an estimated budget for the first 3 months of the response should be established, and different stakeholders must be ready to implement the preparedness action plan before an emergency occurs to enhance its effectiveness, timelines, and ultimately save lives. These are the four steps of emergency risk analysis and monitoring: identifying the risk, ranking the risk, recording the risk, and monitoring the risk. The UNHCR recommends conducting this process through a workshop involving a multifunctional team, including senior management, key international and national personnel. Thus, the Lardo people and the Mornington Shire Council should be present. Through our research, we discovered that Mornington Island receives advice on natural disaster procedures from the District Manager's Office of the Queensland Counter Disaster and Emergency Services, which is based in Mount Isa, on land. The office covers most of the area in the lower Gulf of Carpentaria, including Mornington Island. Over the years, a system of emergency management with Mount Isa as the base has been established and is governed by the state and local government as well as the local community. However, it's important to highlight that when these emergency scenarios happen, they are thousands of kilometers away from Mornington Island. One precedent was a study by Eddie McLean, who conducted qualitative research through deep listening by interviewing the Lardo people after Cyclone Abigail happened. By analyzing the UNHCR Emergency Handbook and examining Cyclone Abigail, several preparedness actions were identified. For example, most residents received information and warnings about Cyclone Abigail from household radios and television. They then informed family and relatives who lacked access to the communication channels. However, many people interviewed reported that not enough information or warning messages before and during the cyclone was shared. Despite this, the Bureau of Meteorology, television, and radio warnings were generally rated fair to good, as were the emergency services during the storm. Before the cyclone, family and friends assist in cleaning yards of loose debris, trimming overhanging trees, branches, and removing rubbish. This approach mitigates scenario and enhances the community response plan. For instance, trees in Gunana near houses and power lines are significantly cut back to prevent prolonged power outages. Another example of First Nation system thinking is how relatives help clean properties for elderly who are unable to do it themselves, and those who don't have vehicles are transported by their relatives or friends to stores to buy emergency supplies. People who felt their homes were unsafe moved in with relatives who had more secure buildings during the storm and returned home afterwards. This demonstrates First Nation system thinking and relationality in action, emphasizing relationship and community support at the center. The post impact survey by Eddie McClan revealed the need for better and clearer communication within the community prior and during the cyclone. Some residents indicated they wouldn't leave their homes unless explicitly advised by authorities, and others were unaware of location of the island's evacuation center, which are hospitals and police stations. Addressing these communication gaps is essential. Interestingly, the Lardil people recognize positive effects following cyclones. These times are used for the community to gather and catch up with family and relatives. Another enduring tradition involves taking advantage of the natural elements as many seafood wash ashore, allowing them to collect fish in buckets after the cyclone.
Hi, I'm Kenneth. I'll be covering the site analysis on Mornington Island, home to the people of Lardil. I'll be focusing on the impact of cyclones on the remote island and dive deeper into Cyclone Abigail. To give a sense of scale, here is the whole map of Australia as compared to the highlighted Mornington Island. It is located in the Gulf of Carpentaria in the northern part of Australia. It is very close to both Queensland on the right and Northern Territory on the left. Mornington Island is the largest of the North Wellesley Islands and about 125 kilometers from Burketown, which is the closest city on the mainland. Over the years, Mornington Island has felt the direct effects of numerous tropical cyclones and has been constantly exposed to extreme weather conditions from cyclones and storms in the vicinity. The reason for the island's vulnerability is that its location is in an area that is subject to forces of seasonal monsoon activity that occurs in northern Australia during the annual wet season, which starts as early as November and ends in April. Understanding the patterns in climate conditions is important for the remote community to prepare and protect themselves from harsh weather conditions. The monthly statistics show a distinct wet season with temperature, rainfall, humidity, and wind speed, which coincide with the cyclone season. Now let's look at some detailed climate specific statistics from 1913 to 2014. The graphs showing the mean temperature and mean relative humidity record high values in the wet season, which can lead to issues with health. The mean rainfall also increases during the wet season. However, the maximum wind gust speed does not record any significant changes throughout the year. The track map of Cyclone Abigail shows that it passes over Mornington Island on 26 February 2001. According to the Southern Hemisphere classification system, Cyclone Abigail had a Category 3 intensity. Now, Category 3 is said to have low pressure and high wind speeds, causing some roof and structural damage with some power failures. Cyclone Abigail started moving towards the Gulf of Carpentaria on 25th February 2001. Power lines brought down with minor structural damage and widespread damage to trees. It finally crossed the Gulf of Carpentaria near the northern Queensland border overnight on 26 February. The area of gale force, storm force, and hurricane force winds are shown in pink, light red, and dark reds respectively. The image by Naval Research Laboratory shows the developing eye patterns due to low pressure and high temperature. The microwave image shows an eye signature, and Abigail reached its peak intensity of 120 kilometers per hour, which is a category 3 intensity. Now we can see the rainfall. The graph on the right records the mean rainfall data for 2001 in Mornington Island. February, which is the month of Cyclone Abigail, recorded a significantly higher mean rainfall value than other months in 2001. A noticeable difference in mean rainfall can be observed in the month of February 2001 as compared to the average mean rainfall from 1914 to 2013. Recorded the lowest Pressure was recorded to be very low at the same time. Uh, Cyclones develop over warm waters where areas of very low pressure are created by air being heated by the sun. This causes the air to rise rapidly and become saturated with moisture and condenses into large thunderclouds. Wind was recorded, the maximum recorded wind gust was 120 kilometers per hour, and this was the last recorded because the Telstra outage during the time prevented reception. However, an observer estimated maximum gust speed was up to like 164 kilometers per hour, and this caused widespread damage to trees with power lines brought down. Most structural damage was restricted to roofs and ceilings. The lack of mountain ranges and significant geographical features to face the harsh weather conditions is the reason for it to be more vulnerable to heavy rains, flooding, and storm surges caused by cyclones. Thank you.
Guys, I'm Tanishq. I'm going to be explaining the inhabitant analysis part of the presentation. The potential dangers and mitigation. Potential dangers that are on the island for all are health risks, spread of waterborne diseases such as cholera, diarrhea, hepatitis A, typhoid, and polio. Safety risks. Displacement due to cyclones often lead to the significant trauma and mental health challenges, necessitating support systems and mental health services to aid recovery and resilience. Psychological risk. During and after cyclones, debris and unstable structures pose significant risk of injury. Implementing robust post codes, debris management systems, and emergency response plans can mitigate these dangers and ensure community safety. Design mitigation strategies for the above. For health, deploying mobile medical units, ensuring that essential healthcare services reach remote and isolated communities, providing timely medical care during and after emergency scenarios. Health, providing portable water purification and systems ensure that community have access to clean and safe drinking water, reducing the risk of waterborne diseases during and after emergencies. And for safety, building sturdy cyclone resistant shelters, providing safe haven for community members, protecting them from severe weather conditions, and minimizing the risk of injuries and fatalities during cyclones. One example is one or two cyclone proof housing. These houses that are shown on the picture over here can withstand the category 5 cyclones. And for safety, offering comprehensive training programs equip residents with essential skills and knowledge to effectively respond to emergencies, enhancing communities' resilience and reducing potential harm during crisis. Psychological, creating accessible counseling centers, providing essential mental health support, helping individuals cope with trauma, anxiety, and stress, and fostering emotional resilience within the community. Another point on psychology is implementing diverse community support programs, fostering social cohesion, offers mutual aid, and provides resource for the recovery and helping individuals and families rebuild their lives after emergencies. The chronic issues on the island are economic challenges. Persistent high unemployment rates lead to economic instability and poverty, necessitating job creation initiatives and vocational trainings to boost employment and economic resilience with the community. Economic challenges are limited access to the market and services. According to the link on the right, the only grocery store on Mornington Island is the Gunawanda store. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. So this is the only store on the island, according to the resources. The community face high prevalence of chronic diseases, which strains healthcare resources and highlights in the need for ongoing medical care, preventing health programs, and improved access to the healthcare services. Educational barriers, low literacy rates. The level of literacy is estimated at 30% of the adult population, with perhaps a further 40% of the adult population being semi literate. And this is also because lack of educational infrastructure. Design interventions, economic. Development of local business and crafts. Supporting traditional crafts and businesses can provide income and preserve cultural heritage. Establishing local markets and e-commerce platforms boost economic independence. Offering workshops on modern technique and business management enhances artisan skills and profitability. Microfinance and entrepreneurship training. Providing micro loans and training in financial management help local entrepreneurs start and growing business. Pairing entrepreneurs with experienced mentors offer guidance and networking opportunities, fostering economic resilience. Healthcare. Building permanent healthcare centers, ensuring that continuous access to medical care, addressing both chronic diseases and emergency healthcare needs, and improving overall community health and resilience. Telemedicinal services allow residents of the island to receive timely medical advice and consultation from specialists, bringing the gap in healthcare access to island's remote location. Education, construction and updating schools on island enhances education opportunities, providing a safe and conductive learning environment that supports the community's long-term development and resilience. Education. Implementing digital learning platform on Mornington Island enables access to diverse educational resources and remote learning opportunities, overcoming geographical barriers and enhancing educational outcomes for the community. Emerging and ongoing issues. The emerging issues is climate change, increase is frequency and intensity of the cyclones, which we have been talking about in this slide forever now, and technological divide, limited access to modern and communication technologies. And ongoing human rights emergencies are cultural preservation, loss of traditional knowledge and practices, displacement and modernization pressures threaten the preservation of traditional knowledge and practices, underscoring the need for cultural programs and initiatives to safeguard this heritage. Cultural preservation, erosion of language and cultural identity. The ongoing erosion of language and cultural identity due to external influences necessitates dedicated efforts to revitalize and sustain the Lardil's community's linguistic and cultural heritage through education and community programs. Design solutions for technology access, installation of internet and mobile networks, establishing reliable internet and mobile networks on the Mornington Island improves communication and access to information essential for emergency response and community development. And offering digital literacy training programs equips residents with skills needed to effectively use technology, enhancing education and economic opportunities in the remote community. Cultural preservation. Cultural centers and museums. Establishing cultural centers and museums on the Mornington Island preserves and celebrates the Lardil community's heritage, providing spaces for cultural education and the preservation of traditional artifacts and stories. Implementing language revitalization initiatives help preserve and promote the Lardil community's strengthening cultural identity and ensuring the transmission of linguistic heritage to further generations. Thank you.